What's up, horror fam? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's episode, we have a few topics that we're going to cover off on. That first one being Opus first look image introduces Ao Edebiri's character and plot details from A24 pop horror movie. So let's get into these details. Premiering next month at Sundance is A24's latest horror movie, Opus, that brings with it a first look image from the film introducing Ao Edebiri as journalist Ariel and new story details. Opus marks the feature debut of writer-director Mark Anthony Green, who began writing for GQ when he was 19 before joining the publication full-time as a writer and editor. The Fest describes the film as flashy pop horror. As for the plot, quote, a young writer is invited to the remote compound of a legendary pop star who mysteriously disappeared 30 years ago. Surrounded by the star's cult of sycophants and intoxicated journalists, she finds herself in the middle of this twisted plan. Edebiri will play the meek yet hungry journalist Ariel, her unique charm radiating alongside a distinct final girl presence. John Malkovich is effervescent and hypnotic as Moriarty, a defied global phenomenon making a dramatically malvoyant reintroduction. What's even more intriguing is that Sundance also describes the film as having musical numbers, which tracks for a horror movie about a pop star. It's also a tense psychosocial game of cat and mouse. So we have the additional casting here. Opus joins a variety of buzzy new horror titles set to premiere next month at Sundance Film Festival. Stay tuned for our review and coverage for the fest. So yeah, when we see first bits of this drop, I know depending upon what they are for Sundance, usually when films like this happen at Sundance, we get the full thing released online. And if that happens this time around, we'll be checking this one out online and giving our first review of the film as well. I'm hoping though, before we get to Sundance, we'll get a trailer to give us an idea of what this film is going to be about. Again, just for that first 2 to 2.5 minutes of what we can expect to see. If not, no big deal. And again, if they release the whole film online like they've done some in the past, we'll check it out and come back with our spoiler review for this. But glad to see, again, as we've mentioned, new takes, new ideas, new horror films coming to the table. It's not a bunch of rinse and repeat. So we have a new director, new writer making its way to the genre. So happy to see that. So our next topic, Rosario Dawson defends a psychic serial killer in Unmerciful Good Fortune. Rosario Dawson is set to play a high-end celebrity attorney in the supernatural horror thriller Unmerciful Good Fortune. Deadline reports, and the person her character will be defending is in the story is a psychic serial killer. ACE film and TV editor Tirsa Hawkshaw is making her feature directorial debut with this film, which is based on award-winning playwright Edwin Sanchez's show of the same name. Dawson is producing Unmerciful Good Fortune and is taking on the role of Matthias Cruz, a high-end celebrity attorney pulled into a headline-making case involving Fatima, a cunning young waitress who is accused of serial poisoning and murdering 28 people. Fatima's defense takes a darkly mysterious turn when she claims to have this psychic ability to see how someone will die when she touches them and reveals she's killing people to prevent a fate worse than death. So we have a bit more here on who's producing it. Dawson provided the following statement: Unmerciful Good Fortune is one of those truly rare projects that grabs you out of the gate and just doesn't let go. It's smart, scary, original, and heartbreaking. From the drop, it struck me and I knew I had to come on board to produce it. I simply couldn't risk it never seeing the light of day. Because it's not that it doesn't fit into a box, it simply defies the box. DeSanto added, Unmerciful Good Fortune is one of those roller coaster rides which is the reason people go to movies. It descends the audience into a shadowy world they have not seen before, like Seven, with an ending that people will be talking about for days after. That is as iconic as I See Dead People from The Sixth Sense. And Large said, it's a mystery that is going to keep everyone guessing and up the game for what audiences can expect from a thriller. I was hooked the moment I read it and I kept thinking about it after, and Rosario is the perfect person to bring it to life. Not much, beyond that, we don't have much more to say about what this film is going to be about. Sounds like there's obviously a big push. They're very confident that it's going to redefine some thriller aspect to the genre, especially if they're trying to throw in comparisons to The Sixth Sense and Seven, which are two iconic thriller psychological films as part of the horror genre. So if you're going to compare yourself to films of that nature, you must be pretty confident of what you're bringing to the table as something we haven't seen before and could even surpass what we saw in those two films, especially The Sixth Sense. For the time The Sixth Sense came out, we all believed Bruce Willis's character was alive. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis is not alive. He's dead. So many of us believed the entire time he was still alive and was just being ignored by his wife throughout the film until we got into that later act towards the end of the film when we found out he in fact had been dead this entire time. Big shoes to fill and to surpass if you're comparing yourself to those two films. I'm hoping this plays out that way. I'm hoping that the film is that good, because if it is, I will definitely be taking a look at this one. Even more so when we get that trailer coming out, we'll see, does it hold up to what they're telling us as far as the comparisons? So we will have to wait and see. All right, so our last topic for today's episode, Sundance Film Festival 2025. Images from all the horror movies just announced. So we're not going to go through these in great detail. We're just going to quickly skim through them, let you know what some of the titles are, what to expect for 2025. So just ahead of the new year, the Sundance Film Festival has unveiled its 2025 slate of programming that's packed with exciting and buzzworthy new horror. Today, the Fest announced their comprehensive slate of films selected from the Fest that will take place January 23rd through February 2nd, 2025, in person in Park City, Salt Lake City, and the Sundance Resort, along with a selection of films available online starting January 30th. Packages and passes are available now at Sundance site. We've come through the entire slate today to find all the genre titles with first look images and information where available. Highlights from the upcoming slate of programming includes Alison Brie and Dave Franco's codependency horror movie Together, Spectre Vision's Celtic Farah horror Rabbit Trap starring Dev Patel, and more. What are you the most excited to see at Sundance next year? Read on for all the horror heading to Sundance Film Festival 2025. So again, we are not going to read each and every one of these. We're just going to skim through them fairly quickly, but we will put a link of this article in the description of this video below. So if you want to check out all the specific details for the films that are being called out here, you'll be able to do so. So the first film on the list is Dead Lover. So here's our first image from that film, and it's about a lonely gravedigger who stinks of corpses finally meets her dream man, but their whirlwind affair is cut short when he tragically drowns at sea. Interesting partake there. All right, so jumping on to our next one, Didn't Die, is coming from the US. So here's our first image of that one. Opus, which was the one we just covered off on earlier in this episode, which had a little bit more detail here, so we're not going to cover on this one. Rabbit Trap coming out of the UK. The Ugly Stepsister, again, we covered this one off on a previous episode, so check that episode out where we do cover off a little bit more details and give our opinions on this one. But this is going to be playing off the Cinderella story as well. Together, coming out of Australia and the US. We also have Touch Me coming out of the US. We have another one here, Obex, coming out of the US. Reigns over Babel, Colombia and the US, along with Spain. And then we have, I think this might be the last one, the version of Query Lake coming up Argentina, Spain, Mexico. And that is the last one. So once again, we're not going to read through every single description of these. We just wanted to call out the names of these films, along taking a quick look at the first images with them. But again, we will put a link of this article in the description of this video below, so make sure to check that out if you want to read all the details about what's coming to Sundance related to the horror films in early 2025. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today's episode. I just want to say a quick thank you to all the new subscribers to the channel. It is greatly appreciated with all the support you are giving us here at Reign of Horror, along with all the comments. We do our best when we see a comment pop up to respond to each and every one of them, so we will continue to do so. We love the interaction with the community. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It does help us out as a new channel up and coming with the horror space. And let us know what you think about tonight's topics. Are you looking forward to Opus, Rosario Dawson's upcoming film, comparing it to Sixth Sense and Seven? And are there any films coming through Sundance that you are excited to see that you've heard about? Otherwise, we will see you at the next one. Peace.